many becoming so few. Family members which once enjoyed every member of family alive, now reducing to one single fellow. No, others who have enjoyed great sense of power and respect and honor by many are now left unattended. No one wants to pay attention to. Therefore, there's no certainty whatsoever of human existence that one may regard as a pleasant, and people may aspire to have them. But as soon as one has them, they are no more. So therefore, there are inconceivable examples of the changing nature of all things. There is no one sentient being who is unaffected by the transient nature of all things. However pleasant things one may acquire them, they are only for a short while. Nothing remains longer than they comes. Because of this, one needs to meditate on this transient nature of all things, and therefore let go attachment to any forms of existence that one may become otherwise attracted to. Therefore, as soon as one obtains them, one should not become trapped by this very attainment, but rather should learn to let go as soon as one obtains them. Having considered the suffering of change, what mainly affects the human beings, that of ourselves, is the suffering of all conditional phenomena. Things are so conditioned, but not being aware of this, we actually become the victims of our own ceaseless activities. Whether one attains satisfaction from those or not, but we fall victim to the unceasing activities of trivial activities. It is said that the sufferings of having to do things, if one were to consider briefly on the sufferings of having to do things, a lot of things to do in one's mind. Those things to do with lists that conjures in one's mind doesn't seem to get done, no matter how much more you do and attend to them. They don't seem to be get done by doing, but only seems to be done when you don't. But so, therefore, it seems that unless one realizes that there's no gaining of satisfaction by doing, realizing that to be the case, one should not become compelled to do simply for the sake of doing, if satisfaction is not forthcoming. Likewise, if one is, whether there's a lot of people in your life or whether there's few people in your life, it doesn't seem to be, in either case, satisfactory. Because when you have a lot of people, there's a lot of people problem. When you have few people, there seems to be a lot of things unattended. So either with many people or few people in your lives, there doesn't seem to be any satisfactory circumstances whatsoever. Same goes with wealth, whether you have a lot of wealth or whether you have a very scarcity of wealth. It doesn't seem to matter whether you're wealthy or poor, for there are no cases when people become happy when they become wealthy. There seems to be totally a problem of different kinds lurks as soon as one has wealth. So whether one is wealthy, there is still suffering. Whether one is poor, there is still suffering. So there's no such that being wealthy are happier, being poor are that much happier. Since there is no such certainty, why bother in ceaseless activities of trivial activities, which doesn't bring us neither satisfaction nor realization of any kind? Isn't this, therefore, that whole life is spent and wasted, let it go astray in preparation? Aren't our time spent merely doing preparatory things for the sake of preparing something more. Even so much so is our life congested with preparatory activities that even at the moment of death, we really haven't finished anything. We are just about to begin to die. So therefore, ceaseless activities of preparatory, therefore, only leads us at the moment of death to start a new life, to go again in that ceaseless activities of doing things which never brought satisfaction in previous life. What good it would be bring forth in next life to have another life if the life that what we have just spent hasn't brought any satisfaction by doing. So therefore he says the importance of abandoning, of having ability to relinquish, being able to say stop, and therefore restrain oneself from the ceaseless activities of racing everywhere, but not getting actually pause for a moment and reconsider in how possibly should one actually meaningfully interpret the meaning of every activity that one get engaged in. So therefore, he shows the importance of developing renunciation to attachment to doing things. If one doesn't put a stop, it never stops by itself.
That's called the one moment that the Shambha's
He stated that one who understands the nature of the or trivial, how hollow, how meaningless all the activities are, from which we only manage to acquire more sufferings. One who realizes this would definitely see the whole ceaseless activity in a deliberate way of acquiring suffering. So isn't it pitiful that those beings not realizing this still rally their whole physical, mental and verbal effort in doing just those things that brought nothing whatsoever. So this far, the teaching on the parting from the attachment to cyclic existence also implies the importance of considering the meaning of law of cause and effect. If one understands the triviality of all activities from which we brought no happiness whatsoever, then one learns to restrain from those causes of deeds that would bring suffering. The one who knows to restrain from the causes which bring suffering, therefore learns to adhere to the infallibility of the law of cause and effect. Now, Trungpa Gyaltsen, in his spontaneous expression of meditative experiences, goes on to explain the meaning of the third line. That is to say, if one is attached to one's own purpose, it is not altruism or bodhicitta. He goes to say that in order to attain the state of nirvana, one has to develop non-attachment. One has to part genuinely from these things one has explained. In order to attain nirvana, it definitely compels me to further express the spontaneous expressions of the meditative realization I could not help but to feel. He says that it would do no good whatsoever for oneself to attain liberation, would it? He says, would there be any gain? So sense gainful experiences by oneself being the first one to reach the finishing line of enlightenment. For leaving all sentient beings within these three realms of existence, who at one or another time have been one's own kind mother and father, wouldn't it be too selfish and ashamed for oneself to reach to state of enlightenment while abandoning mother's pitiful forest of sufferings. Therefore, one who seeks liberation for their own is indeed pitiful and sad indeed. So therefore he goes on to highlight the importance of cultivating altruism or the intention to benefit sentient beings more so as a reason to practice than gaining one's own liberation. That should be the least of all priorities.
하여튼 그릇은 다 정신은 예부승이야 말을. 그것은 이제 다들 자주에서는 메시지어서 다도 다 된동안 되시는 지금 동안 지금 동안 정말 라는도 왔다 소리 했어. 지금 동안 지금 현재 지금 스타디 수준인데 계속 지금 동안 좀 라시다 지금 내내는 아니 자다만 뭐지 란도 된 지금 동안 좀 힘이 이거 마사지 현대도 포마스는 다른데 가는 뭐 대신에 나서 하시면 더 그랬어. 되게 간장하고 하고 주주였어요. 지금 선주신들이 되면 아니 스미 쉐이트는 다들 권 그것이 그래서 예시된 게 어떤 더 나를 봤어. 맞아. 저다 무슨 뭐 그한테 봤어. 나 지금 저 신지 무슨 시작이 그때는 저기서 만보면 되지. 저기서 다시 내가